Okay, so I just wrote this like countdown GUI application, which you can basically provide any like integer number to, and it will count down from it in seconds via a nice font GUI that you can zoom in and out from. And the first thought that came to mind for me is sleep actually accurate? And if yes, how accurate is it? And how can I measure it? So the first thing that I did to solve my question is I used a search engine. Yes, you can actually do that to research if somebody already had the same question. And it's essentially yes, kind of, because this dude on Stack Overflow apparently timed sleep and got a grossly inaccurate result, which implies that there is measurable overhead to that function. Granted, they are in a VM, which makes this overhead probably way larger, but of course I still needed to investigate. Doing this myself, as you can see, I also have an oversleeping. I don't have this much of an oversleeping, they have like 40 times more, but I have oversleeping. But you know what? This time is a little bit too inaccurate for me. Maybe there is some flag to make this more accurate. You can leave that in the comments if you want. But we're actually real software developers here. So let's write a quick C program that essentially does the same thing as time, but with higher accuracy. So if you're familiar with timing in C, you know that there is a struct time spec that we can use to measure time between 2 points. To measure the distance in seconds, let's use tvsec, which is the time in seconds, and we also need to add the time in nanoseconds on top of the seconds. Okay, so now that we have that, we can just literally call sleep and check how long it actually took. So let's have our time specs with before and after. And then let's not use get time of day or similar. Let's use clock get time because we can have clock monotonic, which is more accurate. So let's write that timestamp into before and then write the next timestamp into after. And then we can say, let's say actually slept %f seconds. But we want very high accuracy, and then C, you can literally just have the accuracy in here. So you can say an accuracy of 9. And because we have a double, this accuracy is actually feasible. And then let's invoke our function second since, and then we have before and after. And let's return 0. And would you look at that? So we're essentially oversleeping for about 64,000 nanoseconds, which is actually 64 microseconds. And if you do a lot of profiling, especially on GPUs and stuff like that, you know that the value of this number is not actually that low. Okay, because we are now in the realm of nanoseconds, let's actually revert this and have it be in n seconds since. Because what we then can do is we can factor this out and do something like in 64t, which by the way we didn't change. And from here we can actually calculate our error. So let's say error is equal to elapsed minus and then 1e9, meaning this is what we actually wanted, but this is what we actually got, so the difference will be the error. So let's say actually slept for elapsed, error is equal to %LLD, and then we want to also say LLD in here because we changed the types, and then we want to preferably say something like long, and error. Okay, as you can see, we are now factoring out the error correctly, and the error is pretty high. So before we actually can make it our mission to get this error as low as possible, let's investigate why this error even exists. Why is there this oversleeping? So essentially on Linux, the scheduler is what runs tasks. And the overhead of sleep is actually tied very closely to the scheduler because sleep removes our current task from the set of runnable tasks in the scheduler, then waits for the timer and eventually marks our task runnable again. And then eventually when the scheduler chooses our task to be run, we get back from the interrupt and we return to the next user space instruction essentially. So the error is mainly produced from the overhead of the scheduler and having to make our task not runnable and then make it runnable again and then wait for the scheduler to run it. So the first thing I thought about, because we are scheduler bound, maybe we can increase the priority of our process. And as you can see in the scatman page, the scheduler API is summarized as controlling the CPU scheduling behavior, policy, and priority of processes. And essentially the thing that priority does is it just prefers our task when there are multiple other runnable tasks that actually want to run currently, which is the case in like every normal user space environment. Meaning the tasks that are, for example, on my desktop or in the background are kind of put aside, and my task here is basically preferred. So this should decrease the scheduler time because it takes less time to actually choose our task, because the scheduler knows that we want to decide to choose this task immediately, essentially. So let's actually construct a scheduling policy or parameters for our current task. And we want the priority to essentially be 80. You can have a value from 1 to 99, but I found that 80 is giving me the best results. So let's use 80. And we want to now kind of invoke a very dangerous function, which is setScheduler. So let's actually set the schedule algorithm for 0, which just refers to the current thread and task. And for the policy, there are sched_rr, other, and FIFO. And FIFO is basically first in, first out real-time scheduling. And this is the strongest policy that we can choose, so let's actually choose it. And for the param, let's use our param. So now when our task becomes runnable again after sleep, the scheduler is much more likely to pick up our task and run it. But this can actually return non-zero exit code, so let's check for that. And mostly it's because we're not running with sudo. So let's just say std_error try running with sudo. And then we want to print the error of this function. So let's see if that improves our error. And let's run it with sudo this time. And okay, we get a big jump. Okay, we go from about 70k to about 10k, which is already kind of great. But let's actually have a more sensible experiment, and let's do something like I is equal to 0, I is less than 20, I++ to have more samples. Okay, and our error is basically dropping into the 10Ks. Okay, so this is a great improvement, but you have to know that you should probably not change the scheduling algorithm and priority of your task. Okay, so this is already a great improvement, but the main thing is that we are still using sleep. But what happens if we just spin? Because spinning would obviously remove the entire overhead of scheduling. So let's just test what happens if we just spin. Okay, so let's have a function like nSecondsNow, which just gives us the nanoseconds of the current time. So let's just say while nSecondsNow is less than some kind of target, which let's define as a target is equal to the nSecondsNow plus and then 1e9. So just now plus 1 seconds. So it's less than target. And then we just want to basically wait. And then we can just do the error. So let's just only print the error for now. Is just nSecondsNow minus the target. Okay, so this is basically the extreme of accuracy that we can get out of this. But what we can still try is we are calculating nSecondsNow in here again. So we could do something like last, and then we have a do, which just says last is equal to nSecondsNow, and then we use last in here. We actually take the last calculation that we had before the do, which should reduce the overheads to basically 0. I mean, we have this plus here, which is probably another instruction, but it's essentially 0. Okay, and as you can see, we have even less error now. Okay, I slapped a bunch of optimizations flag onto this, and I also am only printing the value now. And this is basically rock bottom, right? So this is extremely accurate, but there has to be a catch, right? So I'm kind of hearing the catch already, but inspecting this in BTOP shows us that it's using 6.2% CPU, which is essentially 100 CPU on my system. So while this is extremely accurate, it will also kill your battery. So is there a way how we can basically get the accuracy of busy waiting with minimal scheduler overhead? Yes, there is. So let's use clock nanosleep as well, because it's just better than sleep. And I have to sleep in units that are not seconds, and I think this is just what we need. So the plan is to actually nano sleep, but not for a second, but a second minus like 2 milliseconds, right? So we basically buy ourselves a little bit of headroom to arrive just in time for the 1 second. But then to actually sleep the exact 1 second and not undershoot, we want to busy wait for the last 2 milliseconds essentially, which costs way less CPU obviously, because we're spinning only 0.2% of the second, meaning the CPU usage should actually be only 0.2% for that spin. So let's actually call nanosleep before our spin, as we said, and let's see what nanosleep takes. It takes the clock ID. We want the clock to just be the monotonic clock, and then flags. Okay, so for flag we'll actually want absolute time, because then it is interpreted as an absolute time, which we want because our target is inside of n seconds now. We could probably also do this relative, but I don't think it's more performant or useful in any way. And then a rec is just a requested time spec. So let's have a time spec. Let's call it something like wake up deadline. And TV sec is essentially our target minus, and then what is 2 milliseconds? I think 2000. So I think this would be microseconds, and then 00 would be milliseconds. Okay, so we should be able to just do that. But this is not correct because this is in nanoseconds and we are specifying sec. So let's have divided by 1e9, and then let's kind of have this like that, and then let's have an nsec, which is the same thing, but percent 1e9, because it's just the rest on top of these seconds. Okay, so this is our deadline, so let's pass our deadline, and this can just be null. And yeah, okay, so now we are basically sleeping for 1 second minus 2 milliseconds, and then the rest we just spin. So this last minus target thing should still work. And would you look at that? Okay, so we basically made the kernel handle the boring like 998 milliseconds and make ourselves headroom, which is then just filled by our spinning loop. So let's actually see if we have successfully removed the CPU overhead, and we sure have 0.0%. So I just want to remind you that we went from 87K to 0. Okay, so I ported the Russian sleep experiment to my actual GUI code, and I fixed it a little bit. I made it production ready, you might say. Dude, that's like so much more accurate. This was definitely worth optimizing. Finally, this timer works, man.